And welcome to the webinar. This webinar is designed to assist you to complete your diabetic cycle of care. This is for best practice, and I've opened a make-believe patient, Madeline here, who has diabetes, and we're going to work through that. Feel free to open your best practice and work with me, or just watch the web and sit back and enjoy the webinar. So first of all, what we do is we obviously go down to where we find our best practice, which is in the enhanced primary care. So if you click on that, you'll see it'll go away. If I click on it, it will now reappear. So that's our diabetic cycle of care. And I can click on that. I can see that the last one was performed on the 27th of the 10th, 2011. I'm really going to focus just on my diabetic cycle of care today. So I want to see what's going on. So I'm going to have a look at my current situation with my diabetic patient. Now, the first column here tells us when they obviously should be recorded or monitored throughout that 12-month cycle. You can adjust this dependent upon the individual requirements of the patient. So this is just a guideline. The other thing that you'll notice is that there are some recordings in there already. These will actually appear automatically or self-populate if you have put in your observations before you start the cycle of care. So it could be a point where the patients come in, you do all your observations, your height, your weight, your measurements, make sure you're including the waist now, and blood pressure and so on. You check that all of their investigations are here, that they're up to date, that everything's been recorded and it's in the right place, and then you would start to do this diabetic cycle of care. It will save you some time because a lot of the stuff will actually self-populate. You can see here this individual hasn't really seen anybody outside the practice for a while, so that might be something you want to have a motivational chat to. So first of all, we want to go on to, we don't want to complete the cycle of care because that means we've actually finished what we need to do for that 12-month cycle and that we meet all the eligibility requirements to be able to claim that cycle of care. As you can see from the gaps, we're actually not quite there yet. We'll go on to add new values. When you add new values, it brings up a brand new screen. And you can see here that it has self-populated what I've done today, which is fantastic. I'll now go in to say we're going to be doing a foot examination, or we did a foot examination last week, but we didn't put the information in. It's entirely up to you and your practice how you run that. But we basically just check that there's no deformities, there's absolutely no ulcers. Yes, there is a bit of neuropathy. The pulses are present. The left one is the same. There's no deformity. There's no ulcer. There's no neuropathy on the left side, and the pulses are actually present as well. The fundus examination is obviously the eyes, and you'll get that report from your ophthalmologist or your optometrist. Most optometrists now will take a picture of the back of the eye, which is the fundus, and give that to the report to the GP. If that's not happening, maybe providing the patient with a letter or something to request that the report come to you might assist you to get that information from your optometrist, but we know that it has been a bit of a challenge for some practices. So if you've had where they've done a fundus examination, you just basically put in the date. This guy went a couple of weeks ago, so we'll just put that in there. And according to that, there was no retinopathy, so we'll click that in. This patient's actually okay. Investigations, we've looked at that the HbA1c, and this really should already be in there. This should populate. So I'm just going to look that up to see where it's gone to. And we can see here that there has been, that was on 2011. So we can see that that's not quite regular, not quite current. We can go all the way up and check. There's nothing there from now. So if I close that and have a look and say, well, look, I'm going to include that in my HbA1c, or I'm going to suggest to the doctor, well, we need to do this. In the meantime, let's just add some values in. So if I put 53 in there, we know that's around where they should be. The cholesterol, total cholesterol, say 4.5, but these should populate. So, and if these figures are wrong for you, feel free to adjust them. Say the creatinine's around at 91 because it's raised. Creatinine microalbuminuria ratio, so we say that's what, about 6.1, whatever it is, and that'll be 61 sorry, 61, and the albumin say around about that 4 or so. So triglycerides 0.6, guys, really good, and LDLs. But I just made these up, so hopefully you have the right checks. The glomerular filtration, it's above that 59, so let's say it's around that 61. So these are just made up figures, so don't get too caught up in those, but they really should be self-populating from your pathology results. If they're not, maybe there's a bit of a glitch in your program, and talk to your practice manager. So the last last time they went to an endocrinologist, if they haven't been to one, we've had a retinopathy check, so he has been to an ophthalmologist, so we might try and choose one. If we can't find one, we're going to go here, optometrist, and we're going to pick this guy and select that. And it will just tell you who did he go and see and what date. We said it was the 8th of the 1st. Let's go all the way back to the 8th of the 1st. Okay, so you can go through and check where those results are. You can check who they've seen. You can add who it was that they've seen in your care plan. They haven't seen a diabetic educator, so we know that might be an option for the future. They haven't been to a podiatrist either, or they have been to a podiatrist and went to Mr. There is not one in there, so you'll need to add that into your, and if that occurs with you, it's just a matter of talking to your practice manager, add in who you actually see. So you would save that. Once you save that, that's going to go on, oops, sorry, I haven't added the dates in. So if we save the dates on 29th or 29th, so they had them all done on the same day. And these, again, should automatically populate. You should not have to do this. It's just that this is a make-believe patient. Here we go, and if we save that, you'll see now that it's added on to what we had. You'll see where you actually are up to date, and it'll highlight there's no gaps, and it'll even say to you, look, you know, you can quickly check and go, oh, I'm up to date with my cycle of care. Probably only got to do one more foot check, and this guy's going to be okay for claiming a diabetic cycle of care. So close that, and it will record now in your progress notes, as you can see. Did that save? And of course, has it saved? Close. Oh, sorry, should have printed that out. There you go, now it's saved. Sorry about that. So you will have to press end diabetic cycle of care. So now it's saved in there, so you can actually view all of those things that you actually have just recorded. You can print this out and give this to a patient, or you can keep it in your own little file for how you're managing your diabetics. So once you've had that and you've saved in your progress notes, and it will come up in your progress notes, today's notes, it will identify that you've actually done a diabetic review for audit reasons. You can actually go out of the patient now, and what you can do is, once this speeds up, we can go into the front page of best practice. This is best practice here. If you go into clinical, you'll see on your diabetic register, which is where I got my patient from in the first place, we've got a list of all of our diabetics, and you can see in a snapshot what they are missing. When was the last time that they had that, and when are they due? So you can then decide to recall some of those patients or put them on a bit of a plan. I've used all my doctors. You might want to just pick a particular doctor, and that will show up as the individual. For example, let's see if that changes it for you. Yeah, you can see these are just his that Dr. Finder Cure's patients, and you might say, well, okay, he's got a lot of these missing, their BP, blood pressures, and eyes. I might actually recall this patient, see how they're going. So I hope that's helped with your diabetic cycle of care recording. Feel free to contact me if you have any further questions. Again, my name's Sharon Ashman and my number is 0439 794 660, and thank you very much for your patience.